encouraging, inspiring, and empowering mothers on their parenting journey. Welcome to the OHbaby podcast. Being a mum can be overwhelming and unrelenting, we know. Each episode, we'll be bringing you the top tips, advice, and words of wisdom from experts and industry leaders to help you navigate your own path. It's the information you can trust. Mama, you got this.
So hello and welcome to the OHbaby podcast. I'm Angela Harter and today we're talking about preparing yourself and your little one for childcare. And I get to talk to a legend in the early childhood space, founder of New Shoots Children's Centres, Michelle Pratt. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you so much. It's great to have a chat.
Good to have you on board. Now, Michelle, I have read this bio of yours. I have to read this bio of yours that I have in front of me because you're just a total boss babe. Michelle has over 30 years of experience in the commercial and not-for-profit education sector, holding a bachelor in early childhood studies from the University of Melbourne, with a history of owning and operating a range of early childhood centres, including the creation and development of New Shoots Children's Centres. Michelle is strongly interested in positive outcomes for children and families across all cultural contexts. A finalist in the 2014 Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year in New Zealand, Michelle has also lectured at Auckland University in a range of subjects and regularly writes for international journals and magazines about children's issues. Most recently, she has returned from a 7-date speaking tour of Australia as part of the Seaman. There you go. I should have.
Saman and Slattery.
Saman and Slattery National Practice Conference, speaking on enabling well-considered environments for infants and toddlers. You wear a lot of hats. That of mother of 2, grandmother of 4. I don't know how you find the time and energy, but having met you, I know that your passion and energy in this space is absolutely abundant. You're an amazing lady. It's so cool to have you.
That is the most complimentary introduction I think I've ever had.
Oh, well, you're worthy of it. You're amazing. Shall we
great to have
crack
today.
into this? Huh?
Let's just crack into it. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me more about yourself, like your history in early childhood education and what you're working on now.
Oh, look, honestly, my history in early childhood education began when I was looking for childcare for my own children. Look, I was a chef by background originally, way back then. So I was London City and Guilds trained. I mean, I'm a creative at heart from start to finish, and my background in chefing was always around creativity and the fun of creating and making things, which is really what I do love and is really what was fundamentally drives, I suppose, where I come from. So my roles these days is grandparent duty number 1. So I am always available for my children for grandparent duty. I think they're probably the luckiest kids on this earth, that's the 5-day overseas holiday they want to have where they get refreshed. And I know that my mum was pretty damn good at this. And so I'm determined that those are some of the things that I'm going to do for my children. I suppose one of the things, as you get older, you start, I think I had a meltdown when I was 60. And I think one of the things that works for me, and one of the things I think for me is really important now, is sharing my knowledge and helping others, both in New Zealand and internationally, giving back wherever I can. And, where those opportunities come, they come as a priority to me to other things. And I think that, having owned and operated in lots of areas, in the for-profit sector and, in the not-for-profit sector, there's a real, I suppose, a need and a desire to give back and help. And I think that can be sort of, one of the projects that I've worked on over the last few months is with Tish she's from Raglan Yogurt, on her New Values Foundation. We worked on a project around little libraries, which is like literacy in early childhood education centres in low demographic communities. So their little book stands go into early childhood centres, and it's been working with her on the design and the development of the stands and the books, what books are going in, and then looking at how we're going to research this and how we're going to make a difference. So those are the sort of things that really push my buttons today. I think as you sort of get older, you sort of start to wind down and they become priorities for you. I think though, also New Shoots Children's Centres, we're busy as ever. We're rocking along and having a great time. And, we've had a year of really consolidating and thinking about what we're doing and where we're heading. And that's been really fun as well. So I think, less is more, but maybe more of the things that can help people as opposed to more of the structured approach to day-to-day life in ECE.
Yeah, I so get that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Change is good.
Yeah, and change, with like the economy, with all the things that are happening in the world at the moment, it just makes you rethink everything and adapt.
Yeah, and I think that, this conversation is a great conversation because we're going to talk about preparing for childcare. And there are a lot of mothers who are having to go back to work, not by choice, but because their mortgages are going through the roof.
Yeah,
And they might have not necessarily made that choice to go back as early as they are going to go back. And then they're realizing fundamentally, oh, this is quite difficult. I'm feeling really guilty about this. I want to be doing other things, but that's not where I sit at the moment.
yeah,
And you know what I say? I just say it is what it is. And it's part of the way the world works, and it's part of society and the way society works. And so at the end of the day, it's devastating for you in your heart, but you can do lots and lots of things to make this easy.
yeah, that's so
Or
true.
easy, not easy, easier.
Yeah, I agree. So we're talking about preparing yourself as a parent and your little one for childcare. Shall we start with the parent question? I know from experience with 3 kiddos that preparing yourself for your little one to go into childcare is a thing. It can be an absolute necessity for our little ones to go into childcare, like you were just saying. Yet we can be completely not ready. We have our own attachment with this process. We can have fears around picking the right childcare option for our child. Wanting the right people looking after them, perhaps a bit of guilt sprinkled in there. It can be a really fragile and brave time. What would you say to a parent to prepare themselves to put their child into childcare emotionally? And then I'll ask about the practical.
Right. The first thing I'm going to say is do not overcomplicate the situation. Life has been so complicated. There is so much information in the media. There is so much information that is online, and a lot of it is really negative. And so you can spend your life dealing with the negativity of the situation, or you can spend your life researching the positive aspects of what we can do to make this good. And I think there's a few things that you need to really, really think about. It's different for everyone. What's right for me, what's right for you is not necessarily what's right for someone else. And so, you need to go and do some visits and really think about it. The big thing I say, it's got to feel right. Now, I can't even describe how it feels right for you, because for what it feels like for you is different to how it feels for me. Every one of us, or every family as such, is going to have different views about what feels right. Is it big? Is it small? Is it rushed? Is it, like, what are the things that are the priorities for you? Now, you've got to remember one thing. No one gets it perfectly right.
So true.
No one's going to get it perfectly right. It's not going to be always right, but it comes down to good communication and information that you're provided and what you feel like when you visit. Do you walk through and it feels genuinely calm? If it's pouring with rain like it has been this morning before we did the interview, there's going to be a lot of children inside, so the noise level is going to be up. Like it's going to be slightly up. But if children are flowing from the indoor and the outdoor areas and it's genuinely calm, then it's going to feel right for you. But you do need to think about what does it feel like and how does it feel like for me. I think there's some things around expectation. When you're going to early childhood, this is not one-on-one care for my baby or my toddler or my preschooler. This is a group care environment. Government ratios vary, service ratios vary, but I'll be taking a quite close look at what are the proposed ratios. What does this feel like? Do I feel, a good question I ask, it always gets missed off the list, is who are the owners of the services that I'm looking at? Like, are they early childhood trained? Do they have a background in ECE? It's a really good question to ask. And I think, even we were looking at our website the other day at New Shoots saying, like, it doesn't say on our website specifically that Nikki, Kelly and I are all early childhood trained. We've had a background in ECE. We all have degrees in early childhood education. Look, this is one of our strengths. We haven't really extensively talked to this on our website. People just presume, oh, New Shoots, it's a larger group of early childhood centres, but they don't actually know that, yeah, we've all got degrees or diplomas of teaching in ECE. Some of us are old school. And, at the end of the day, we do understand the values of what we're providing and what we're offering. So my big question is, who owns it? Who owns the service? What is their background? Where do they come from? It's complicated. The regulatory environment of early childhood education is honestly a great big fat shambles. So at the end of the day, what you've got to really think about is who operates the service, what are their values, where do they come from, do they have a history in early childhood education, and what is the purpose for them being there? So I think those are some of the things that I'd be asking. And these are things that aren't often asked.
Yeah, interesting. Wow.
So it's different for everyone.
Yeah,
Very, very different.
yeah. So we're not overcomplicating.
Yeah.
Our experiences are our own. So when it comes to the practical side of things, how do you make a decision as to what childcare option is best for your child? What does that look like?
Yeah, look, there's a whole pile of things in there. So hours of operation is probably the predominant thing, because there's nothing like getting yourself stressed out, getting to the centre and picking your child up at the centre at the end of the day. So I'd say operational hours are incredibly important to look at, because the calmer you can be, the calmer your child's going to be. But if you're running out the door, boom, 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 stressing out, I've got to get there, I'm running late. It's also the response, if you're going to be consistently late, look, honestly, the service is going to get really brassed off with you. You need to leave in time. And that's, a hardline conversation with your boss. Look, I need to leave by 4:30, 5 o'clock, 5:15, or whatever you need to leave by. Taking into account the traffic and the disasters, and actually spending some time in your car chilling out, just thinking now I'm going to focus on children. The other thing I'd say is something really stupid is, are meals provided? It just makes your day so much easier, because and our nappies provided. I'm not rushing to the supermarket. I'm not even to think about dinner. I think we get hung up on what we feed our children. We're obsessed by it. We've become a breed of people and a group of women who are obsessed by what our children are putting in our mouths. If they're getting a balanced diet at the centre on a day-to-day basis, it's completely okay to have a yogurt, some fruit, and a piece of toast. Maybe some Marmite on it. You don't stress the small stuff. Children don't starve themselves. They eat, if they're getting a balanced nutritional diet at the centre, then breakfast in the morning, you can make it simple. Dinner in the evening, you should make it simple. So again, don't overcomplicate it. Don't overthink it. So I think, a lot of it is stuff happens and shit happens to us. And it's how do we cope and how do we deal with it? You get into the car, children kicking the car seat, kicking the back of the seat. These are the things that wind you up. And, you're thinking, oh, gosh, this is irritating me. It's how was your day? What? Yeah, just chatting away about just stuff. Turning off the phone for 5 minutes while your children are in the car, not trying to return 50 calls because you've missed them during the day, and prioritizing that and spending time doing those things after they've gone to bed. Really, really important. But that full focus from when you pick them up, or you're getting to the centre, picking them up, and then you're getting them fed, bathed, and ready for bed. Just trying to tune out, all of those social channels, not flicking your phone, looking at Facebook, looking at Instagram, just trying to just be present in the moment. Really, really, really important. Remembering that every child is different.
Yeah.
What works for one does not work for another.
Yeah.
So again, my big thing is don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah. So decision-wise, looking at the hours. So
yeah, group sizes, how are the rooms structured? How many transitions are there? How do I feel like I've been communicated with? Do I feel like, I'm getting the full story about what happens? And, acceptance that things go wrong, I think that, it's accepting that accidents happen. Children fall over, children graze their legs. Children do get bitten in group situations. Nothing can be more stressful than your child getting bitten in the first 6 months of them in attending an early childhood centre. But if you look at the development of children, it does happen. It is going to happen. and figuring out solutions to that. These things are really, really important. So what is the behavior management strategies for the service? Like what happens and how is this going to be managed? It's really, really tricky. So, you've heard lots of chatting about neurodiversity and the issues around neurodiverse children and the lack of services around that. It is a problem. It is a significant problem. It's how does the service manage this, and how are we going to deal with issues as they arise? And, do I feel like I'm being communicated honestly, fairly, and I'm getting the full picture? Yeah, and not snapping at people when you're getting the full picture, but you don't like the outcome.
Yeah.
So you've got to balance that, and you've got to think about that. You've got to think about, like, the service wants to be open with you. They want, but, if you're going to jump down their throat every 5 minutes, every time something happens, well, that just leads to a level of mistrust between both parties. It's like being married to someone, isn't it, really, at the end of the day? When someone jumps down your throat every 5 seconds, it doesn't lead to you feeling good about yourself. It doesn't lead to you feeling good about what's happening with your children. It doesn't lead to good outcomes. So it's looking at talking and discussing the issues and the concerns that you have, but then finding solutions and then moving on.
Yeah.
And just actually just move on, So again, not sweating the small stuff.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
And so where would you find that kind of information? Do you just visit?
I think you visit. You absolutely visit. I think you're going to get this information from, if you feel confident in the information that you've been provided, if you are confident in the discussions that you're having. Most people will talk you through group sizes. Most people, most services will talk you through how do we integrate children into a service. Go to everything. Go to all the parent things that you can possibly go to. Participate. Be involved. Join the Facebook groups that internally operate within centres. There's lots of interesting things that you can see and do, within those services. So some of the friends that you make in these environments are going to be your friends forever. These are going to be friends that you make when your children are under 5. And, it's, what is the thing? Birds of a feather flock together. It's a great thing to be able to, build relationships with others and enjoy the times that you have. You never get this time back. You never get it back. And, there's lots of other parents, families, struggling with, like the decisions that you've had to make in choosing an early childhood centre and choosing where you go. What services? Not every service is right for everyone. You've got to figure out what works for you. You're not going to get it. Things are never going to be perfect.
Yeah. Just like life. Yes.
Yeah. So you can't overlay your expectations of the perfect life that you want into your service for a perfect life that you want for your child. It doesn't exist. It's a myth. It's a myth. Yeah.
Although every time I look at like the new shoots, like the centers, they're just beautiful, and I just imagine, like, I wish I was a kid going there. If I'm honest, so pretty. I romanticize about them.
Yeah, and you know what? We're still continuing cleaning up, resetting, refitting, refurbishing. Like, we don't always get it right. Like, things go wrong. Like, we make mistakes. We're all human. And it's about how are those mistakes conveyed, and what's the approach we're going to take to put it right. We say at the end of the day, like, you can have this conversation, something's gone wrong. We deal with human beings. We don't deal with robots. Life would be completely different if it was a robot that did these jobs. We're not, AI is like here, but we're human services. We're services providing a service for other humans. So we don't always get it right. And we would never profess to always get it right. But look, we can do our best to put it right, or to do the best moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice.
So what is it? Shit happens.
Legit. It sure does.
So again, don't sweat the small stuff is my big piece of advice, but do take a really solid look. Does this reflect my values? Does this reflect who I am as a person? Do I feel like the staff are really, or the teachers are really interacting with the children? Is there indoor and outdoor flow? There's always compromises, and I know from a new shoots perspective, we're always looking at this compromises for location versus space versus size versus scale. There's always a compromise. Nothing is ever perfect. But,
Yeah.
like we're endeavoring to provide the best we can in the environments that we have and the spaces that we have in the locations that we have.
Yeah. And every childcare centre will, be,
Everyone will be different. I
yeah,
do like to say one thing I would look for is coordination and organization. Like, is it chaotic? Is my big thing. Does
yeah,
it feel crazy chaotic? If it feels crazy and chaotic, I just think that you should think really carefully about what's going on.
yeah. Because you don't want that for your child.
You want it to be calm. The other thing that I think is a really a cool tip to look for is, are there respite areas for children to go for quiet time? So if you look at group care in early childhood education, this is something I've spoken to extensively across Australia in the last month or so, areas to go where children can be alone. Are there those quiet spaces? So I think there's things that have been overwrought and overlaid across it, which is supervision, seeing every child every 5 seconds of the day. So there are no spaces to go that are respite and quiet.
Yeah.
So I think, looking for those spaces and seeing those spaces is really important. At the end of the day, is there places where we can go to rest and relax and have quiet and calm as we come down towards the end of the day before we go home. So
Yeah.
those are really important things to look for: respite, calmness, quietness, those sorts of things.
Mm, that's awesome. Yeah, I love that. And, I was just thinking about my own kind of, experience in putting kids into childcare. It was the more information that I got, the more peace I got, the meeting the staff, visiting the center, you know, and also just with myself, it was just my own self-talk around it as well. Like, it's going to be okay. These guys know what they're doing. Look at all the kids here. They're having a great time. They've clearly been cared.
Yeah, and positivity is really important, and not overlaying your own emotions over the top of what's happening for your child.
The guilt part is
Yeah,
like, no, that's on me. My
yeah.
child isn't
Please
going.
don't overlay this onto your child.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this isn't what they're feeling. So, like, just
really, really.
work
Yeah,
on me. Be
yeah,
kind to myself, but also it's going to be okay. Yeah.
yeah.
I,
So that's preparing yourself emotionally so that your child will then emotionally adapt as well.
yeah.
And
And
it's
be
about
positive.
positivity, and it's about and it's that calm and getting to the center, not that rush. Get up 10 minutes earlier just so that you're calmer. 10
Yeah.
minutes is all you need, 10 minutes extra. So, you're not throwing the bags in the car, shouting at everyone to get in the car, trying to coordinate everyone. And we've all done it. Look, we all do it, and we've all done it historically. Look, grandchildren, get in the car, get your bag. Have you got your shoes? Have you got your socks? You get in the car, and then they go, oh, I've left my school art folio behind. Go back and get it, so we do, but it's just, how do you keep it calm and how do you work on that is really, really important. So I think that really, we need to be prepared emotionally so that we can actually help our children emotionally adapt. So that's really, really important.
So then
Uh,
we move into the whole preparing our child for childcare. What can that look like?
Really, really important that, you talk to your child about it. Drop off is incredibly important, that your drop off is calm, it's not rushed. Looking, one of the things I always say to look forward to is looking for primary care. Who is that key person that I go to? Nathan Wallace talks about it extensively. If you're going to have your children in early childhood education, then there needs to be a primary care system in place. That's one of the big things that you can do to counteract the difference between having your child at home for the first 1,000 days or having your children in childcare. So if you're going to do that, you need to look for primary care. Is there a key person that I go to? Is my child assigned to a key person? Especially for children under 18 months, significantly, do I have that person that I relate to? Chatting to your child, but not overdoing it, not overlaying your views onto it, but just chatting calmly, quietly. Advance warning, like advance warning as to what's going on in the day. Like, we're getting in the car, we're going to school, we're going to early childhood, we're all popping on in now. It's going to be a fun day. And who are you going to play with today? What are you going to do today? I wonder what they've got going on. So it's that positivity about what you're doing. But minimizing the morning rush would be really, really, really important. So there's one thing you can do: minimize that rush. So that
Yeah.
would be one of the most important things. And preparing for that early. So doing that before you're enrolling your child. So keeping it calm. Figuring out what things aren't working for your child and what is working for your child. Every child is different.
Yeah.
Every child is different. So, so yeah, trust, like, do I trust the environment I'm going to? Do I
Yeah.
have faith in the people that are caring for my child, and listening to your feelings and taking control over your feelings first as a priority above above what's going to happen through the day, and making sure that it's smooth and transitionally smooth for you.
Yeah, yeah. Do you guys kind of have where the parents come and stay for like
Yes,
a yeah.
absolutely. Transition visits, absolutely essential. So at New Shoots Children's Centres, we will not take a child. So you ring up, and if we had a vacancy, we wouldn't take you tomorrow. There would be absolutely no ability to do that. And that's because we need to transition your child. So that's those slow visits, that's leaving your child for a short period of time, a longer period of time, staying with your child in the early stages. Yeah, there's a full transition program, which is absolutely essential. And if you were going to go to a service where they weren't going to transition a child, I'd be asking some questions around what might that look like? Like, is this the place for me? But transition is really, really, really important. Lots of services do it in different ways, but most really high quality services will be transitioning children really effectively, gradually over time.
Yeah. So
Really, really important.
with our kids, it's more around um, the forewarning. It's around the good transitioning. It's around mum and dad or caregivers, positivity around around going into childcare, being calm when they're dropping them off, being positive around it, so that the transition for our children emotionally is gonna
Yeah,
be.
I would say, yeah. Another thing I just thought about that's really important, that like when you're looking at returning to early childhood, one of the things really important is your routines, the routines that you have,
Oh,
slowing your routines down, like rushing here, rushing there, grabbing a coffee there, grabbing a coffee there, just prior to your child returning to an early childhood setting. Good to spend some time at home, spend them on the routines, getting the routines really regular, really good sleep. Like being up late every night for children and not having a regular sleeping routine will actually lead to some really quite difficult issues that you might experience at a later date. So especially when you're looking at returning to work, returning and using an early childhood service, think about your routines, your day-to-day routines, not rushing, and then thinking about regular sleep and getting your child into a regular sleep pattern. So you can discuss that at your service that you're going to choose, and saying, what would be a regular routine for sleep, and how would we do this together? So talking about that in advance.
yeah, nice. That's awesome.
That would lead, I think that leads into thinking about childcare. I just cannot express, think when you are pregnant, get your child booked in.
Right.
When you are pregnant, do not muck around,
Wow.
because honestly, your high quality services have massive waiting lists
Right.
in high need areas, and especially in suburbs that are expensive, where there aren't early childhood services being built in these high demographics areas because of the cost of land and the cost of construction. So there's limited services in certain areas. Where
Yeah.
we've got growth in new suburbs, new services, probably a little bit more choice. But in some areas where, in some suburbs and some areas, you're going to have to think prior, bang on when you're pregnant. It's, really, really important to get out there.
Wow.
Take a day off work and do it.
Okay.
Absolutely do it. I just cannot express how important it is to do it early, and how important it is to stay in touch with your service that
Yeah.
you've chosen.
Okay. So pregnant mamas, start looking for childcare now. If that's what your plan is
Absolutely.
gonna be, or papas, like
Yeah.
let's say
Whoever,
everyone
mums or dads, get out there
go and
early.
get your research
Get
on
out there
right
early. Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Just go and look. Yeah.
So, so
The
what
other
if,
thing I'd say is too, another thing is, reviews are really important, like Google reviews, yes, they're really important, but there's a lot of crackpots reviewing too. And so I'd say to you, like, everything is great. Your better personal experience, what you see and feel at a service, is probably better than a Google review from somebody who you don't know.
yeah, yeah. I always teach my kids, even if
They're
they've heard
important.
something not good from someone, you have about a person, just service wise, as to say, you have to create your own opinion of it, of
Absolutely.
Not.
And that's where those visits and getting into a service, calling in at different points in the day and having a good look around, really, really important. Super important. You know what? It's not bad at all to have 2 or 3 visits. If you feel like you're going to choose a service, you're choosing to put your most precious thing that you have, which is your child, into an early childhood service. So I'd say, like to have a couple of visits is not unreasonable.
Yeah. You could go in on a rainy day. See how chaotic it is. Go on a nice
Yeah.
sunny day. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. So you've got your child in childcare and they're coming home and they're a little bit unhappy or what if
Sit down with your service and talk to them. Yeah, go and chat to them. Like you've got this relationship with your one-on-one caregiver, especially for younger children. Under 18 months, you'll have this one very, very close relationship. Talk to your service, talk to your people, talk to the people in the centre, talk to the centre director. If you feel like you're not getting an answer, chat to someone at a higher level. Like chat to your owner of your service. Like I think it's two-way communication, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's about what works for you. And I think too, your personal view might not be everybody else's view. And so I think you have to accept that a lot of people in early childhood settings and early childhood environments are experts. If you've read and developed your review or your feeling around what you think is what you've read on the internet, it might not necessarily be a real life experience. So, it's about communication.
Yeah. So next steps would be having a chat to the centre.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. So I'd love
Absolutely.
to switch it around and talk about it from a childcare provider perspective, because childcare providers play a huge supportive and hopefully reassuring space here for parents and little ones. What do, for instance, the New Shoot Centre staff do to help with the transition? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so like there's visits. Obviously, you come in, you have a look around the service, we chat around, and we really encourage people to look at other services as well. So go and have a look at a range of services, and chat to other services about what they provide. I'd say, at the end of the day, the transition process is agreed upon with the parent. Like lots of parents do things a little bit differently. If it's your third child, things are going to be, and your other 2 children have been through a New Shoot Centre, it's going to be slightly different to a first child. Age range is really important, whether it's a really young infant, whether it's an older infant or a toddler or a preschooler, there's going to be different transition processes for those age ranges. I think, placement of child is really important. If it's a first child, it's a completely different experience to the third child. So, those transition visits become incredibly important to settling your child, and they'll guide you. And if a child isn't settling, they'll guide you. Like they say, look, should we add in some extra visits? Should we sit in and have a chat? Every child is different, so every experience is different around settling as well.
And so if our children aren't settling, what can we as parents be doing to help the centre? Like,
One of the key things is if you decide to leave your child and you go. You don't pop your head back in the door and go, oh, hello, I'm still here. Like, no, if you go, you go. And then you go and have that coffee. You hold your emotions until you walk out of that door, and then you come back when you've said you're going to come back. But it's, I'm going to go now. I'll see you shortly. I'm going to return. I will be back soon.
Yeah.
Really, really important. Sneaking out, just a no-go.
But they're so cute. I just want to look at them.
Big hug. I'll see you soon.
Okay, goodbye.
I will see you soon.
With my own emotional stuff and not looking at how cute they are. Okay. So if you were to provide some words of advice for parents making the decision, I feel like we've alluded to maybe one piece, but what would it be?
I think it would be, it feels right for me.
Yeah,
nice. Does it feel right for me? And it feels different for everybody. So you can read every piece of information that you have around choosing an early childhood centre. You can read about ratios. You can read about qualifications. You can read about room sizes, group sizes, all sorts of things. But does it feel right for me?
Yeah, nice. I like that. So this has been very enlightening. Thank you so much. At the end of each podcast, I ask the question, what is one thing that you said you would never do as a parent that you totally did?
Oh,
What
it would be in line with my grandchildren. It was like, yeah, sweets should be limited.
was
No, like it's actually, I think really at the end of the day, calm. The big thing is calm, trying to stay calm, trying to not rush. I still rush. It's still a crazy life being a working mum and trying to squeeze everything in, especially when you have school-aged children and children in early childhood, getting to work, pressures that you have at work. It's pretty serious, like you're a mum, you're a housekeeper, you're a cleaner, you're a monitor of children's health and sickness. It's a big ask, you
Yeah,
know. But you know what I'd say? Your children aren't going to look back and ask you some of those questions. They're going to ask, was it fun?
yeah, nice. Yeah,
So I always say to my children, what was it? They said, oh, it was really crazy, but it was fun. You always made it fun.
you are fun. You're fun.
But having fun is really, really important.
Yeah,
It's those crazy days when you go, it's raining, everyone's grumpy, let's just stop at the park and have a play. It doesn't have to be things that involve money.
yeah,
Buying stuff is not what creates a great environment for children necessarily.
yeah,
Stuff.
yeah,
Yeah. It's those nice things. It's those fun things, isn't it? It's the laughter.
yeah,
It's turning on the radio and singing in the car.
yeah.
It's
Having a
those sorts
dance
of things.
party in the lounge.
Yeah. Yeah. Just fun.
Oh
Bit of
yeah.
fun.
So
And don't sweat the music. Yeah.
that's so good. Hey, Michelle, thank you so much for coming today. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. So, just in case someone is keen to check out New Shoots, the website is newshoots.co.nz. Yep, that's it.
Thank you. Perfect.
Also, we have an article in our autumn issue that Michelle has written as part of a series, so be sure to check that out. It's in the autumn issues in supermarkets and bookstores nationwide. You can also get it online on OHbaby.co.nz. And this article, which is a great little one, is on drop-off success. So check that out. We already have a insight into that. Don't come back.
Once you've gone, you mustn't come back
It's it. No,
until you, yeah. Well, no, it's not that you mustn't come back. It's more that, children need time to adapt and adjust.
yeah,
So
yeah,
do what you say you're going to do.
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks for listening to the OHbaby podcast. If you've found this episode useful and encouraging, make sure to share it with your village so that more mothers can feel empowered. Head to ohbaby.co.nz for more from us and don't forget to subscribe. Mama, you got this. Till next time.